Now, unless you live under a rock, you'll know that a brand new Manager Formula 1 game is coming to us this summer, made by Frontier Devs, fully licensed by Formula 1. I made a video on it when it fully got announced, and we had the very first look, reveal, little teaser trailer. So if you have missed that video, check that one out first of all, because that has all the initial big headline information we got told about this game. But ever since that video and that first reveal announcement teaser, there's been like a little trickle of information coming from the F1 Manager 2022 social accounts over on Twitter and Instagram. They've been doing an A to Z of what to expect in the game. Now, there are a lot of letters in the alphabet, okay? And there's a lot of time between now and summer 2022. I, for one, am thinking and hoping that this game is going to be coming out later in summer, after the full Codemasters F1 game, because I think it would make more sense. They would get a really decent amount of time then, once the initial massive hype is, gone and come from the Cody's games. Obviously, even though that's still obviously very relevant, they'll be able to have a bit of their own space, and they'll hopefully not make the same mistake that, games like Grid Legends made, for example, launching a week before Gran Turismo 7. And in the teaser video, there was a lot of Paul Ricard, the French Grand Prix. And if I check the date, well, the French Grand Prix is scheduled 22 to 24th of July. That is the race weekend for Paul Ricard. That's a good 2 weeks after the British Grand Prix race weekend, which has usually been the weekend, the week of, that they've been launching the full Cody's F1 game. So I think it would be wise, and I think from the hints, maybe potentially, that is the kind of region we're getting in, even start of August. I think it's a great date, because remember, the F1 summer break comes then. But as I was saying, there's a lot to go through if you're going from an A to Z, and you've got all the way till, maybe around July to drip feed this information. So I think there's enough info coming out that I'm going to be making a series of these videos going through, kind of chunks of it. So today, we're going to go through the first couple of letters, because they actually have genuinely given some really interesting insight to what we're going to get in this game. Now, A to Z, of course, we have to start with A, aerodynamics. So this is what F1 Manager tweeted some while ago. Aerodynamics, the airflow over, under, and around your cars. Listen to driver feedback and develop your car to improve your aero performance. So, right, the first bit, airflow over, under, around your car, that's nothing, untoward. Obviously, just that's how airflow works, and that's how aero works in Formula 1. But listen to driver feedback. So we already know that there's going to be some mechanism of drivers giving us feedback. Whether this is on track or back at the factory, we don't know. Remember, Motorsport Manager had kind of, live feedback of the drivers. We had team radio kind of in the two corners, Motorsport Manager. So when you're on track, they used to give you like, oh, the car's too unbalanced, or, oh, I feel like we need more wing. So potentially they could mean this, or it sounds like more like this is going to be like in a debrief room. So is there going to be a vista for maybe a team debrief after we've done practice, after we've done quali, maybe like I'm picturing like a little vista of people sat down, in like an engineering suite, and they're, giving feedback. You have to listen to like, one driver going, oh, I think we need a bit more on the chassis side of things, a bit more suspension. Also, we don't know how simplified or complicated it's going to be. Motorsport Manager always kind of treaded a good line of being, obviously a nerdy F1 style manager game, obviously not licensed, but a nerdy detailed game, but also simple enough that, even people that aren't really fully into Formula 1 maybe could start to understand what we're doing in the game. So, whether it's going to be, vague stuff like just those big headlines, or it's going to be specifics like, oh, I think the rear end was stepping out here, so I think we maybe need to look at the floor or something like that, or it's just going to be a case of, oh, the rear wing, we need more rear downforce. And then develop your car to improve your air performance based off that. So, directly using the info to then try and build a car that is better for your drivers. Moving on to B, batteries have the power to transform a race. In F1 Manager 2022, instruct your drivers to manage ERS usage to help with overtakes or harvest energy for a big push later on. So, ERS Management, that's, something that definitely was always going to be in the game. It was there in Motorsport Manager, remember, as well. I think it was like a update, wasn't it? Or you had to kind of install it on the car later down the line, because at that point, F1, I don't think there was like basically it just wasn't in the game straight away. But so straight away, the drivers, ERS, will be a part of the management on the fly in the race. So I'm going to guess this will be things, well, like they said, managing ERS to help with overtake. So using an overtake button, or telling them they've got a bit more battery on this lap to then push. Obviously, though, that will drain the battery, and then you've got to try and think of, all right, we've got to do some more some harder engine braking, more harvesting on the braking. So that's going to mean they're slower now in certain sectors. If we try and map out maybe how they're going to do it, we don't know how detailed it may be. I don't think we'll be as detailed and nerdy as mapping out when they're going to harvest most. That would be pretty sick, but I don't think they're going to have that. I think it'll just be a simple case of saying, oh, maybe use a little bit less battery now for the next 5 laps, and then you'll have a bit more battery later on to attack that driver at the very end of the Grand Prix. And then finally, in terms of the alphabet that we've been given so far, C, cost cap. Balance those books. In F1 2022, each team will have limits on how much money they can spend. Keep an eye on your budget and manage costs wisely. So budgeting is a massive part of these manager games. You guys, if you watch Motorsport Manager videos, you know the old school phrase I love to say, you got to spend money to make money, and that's so true in a game like this, where you have to be, you can't be too scared of going right down to the red towards the end of the season, because it's going to gain you points, and points mean prize money later on. But this is interesting, because in the Cody's F1 game, we have nothing about a budget cap, like a cost cap. Obviously, it's only just fully coming into effect this year properly, so it'd be cool to see, hopefully that comes in for the Cody's games, but we know for sure already that it is going to be here for the Frontier Devs F1 Manager game. So now every team has a budget to go for. Other teams, the top teams who manage those, they may have more money to technically spend, but you have to stay within budget. But of course, the resources, the facilities you have are probably going to be better, so your money goes a lot longer of the way compared to, let's say, some of the lower teams where they've not got as many facilities. And that's something I'm going to guess hopefully we can build up, work on the HQ, work on, wind tunnels and whatnot. But cost cap's going to be a massive thing, as it is in real life Formula 1. Hopefully this will be also really cool, so no matter what team you pick, it's going to be a challenge. And even if you pick the top teams, you're going to have to stay within the cost cap whilst you're fighting your other fellow top teams. And then for the other lower teams, if you want to do like a Road to Glory, for example, you're going to be able to try and catch up because you have the same amount of money. It's just about long-term project building your HQ out, your staff, hiring the right engineers and whatnot. But it's a level playing field in terms of the cost cap. So that's really good to see. And obviously it was always going to be in the game, but that is a confirmation of that is going to be there, and it's something we have to watch out for. Those are the 3 letters we've got so far, but we actually also got some extra kind of info and just like little headline stuff from the manager account on Instagram. So this is a post: become the team principal of an official F1 team, upgrade facility. So already we know that you can upgrade the HQs, things like wind tunnels, like I said, maybe manufacturing, materials, aero department, everything you'd see in real life. Hire real staff and drivers. So not just drivers, but also real staff. We know it's F1 down to F3 for drivers. Staff, maybe even staff is, F1 engineers and F1 personnel, like the big ones that are well known, all the way down to well-known F2 ones or F3 ones. We don't know. That's not been confirmed yet. It may just be F1 staff, to be fair, because it's, F1 management. There's not actually that much crossover. In terms of in real life, it probably takes you a couple of years to climb the ladder from, being involved in F2 and 3 as an engineer or staff member up to F1, of course, in the same way drivers are. So we don't know about that, but they are going to be real people. You're going to see, photos potentially of like Adrian Newey, James Key, for example, and things like that. Make critical decisions and develop a strategy for success. So like I said, long term, the wording of that, develop a strategy for success. So not just with a strategy on track for success for your team. So it's a long roadmap. So I'm really hoping it's going to take like, a good 3 seasons, for example, 3 or 4 seasons to take a team from the bottom of the championship right to the top. Obviously, in real life, it takes even longer, but you got to remember it's a game. So I feel like in my opinion, a good length is about 3 or 4 seasons to take a team from the top to from the bottom to the top in terms of, you know, the life cycle of this game. I don't know if it's going to be a yearly game or not, but in terms of, you know, doing those 4 seasons may take, you know, a good 2-3 months, which is a decent amount of time to be playing the game that much intently. And finally, the last bit of info we got from this card was design new parts for your cars, choose your engineering approach. So we can design new parts for the car everywhere, hopefully, you know, I'm thinking front wing, suspension, maybe even, you know, things like side pods, because side pods are a massive thing this year. So it would be quite wise for them to say you can design your side pod shapes, or just develop a new side pod maybe, and engine cover, and, you know, other wings like rear wings and whatnot. Choose your engineering approach, though. So that seems like a broader sort of, not the nitty-gritty, but like a general philosophy about how your car wants to be. Like, is it a car that's, you know, going the Red Bull route, maybe, you know, a big undercar, trying to get a lot of air going through the Venturi tunnels, potentially, creating a lot of downforce, and then able to run lower wing, therefore. Or go for a Ferrari approach, where it's maybe not as much downforce, you have to run a higher wing, but your engine is really decent to push you along and that sort of thing. So engineering approach sounds quite broad to gain advantages on upcoming circuits. So then that part dictates maybe it's not just a general thing, it's also just track to track tweaking how you're looking ahead. So, oh, we've got Monza, so let's make sure we've got a low downforce package. We've got developments that are going to be like a lower drag rear wing, for example. So it's not a case of just running lower rear wing. You have to actually design a lower drag, you know, profile of a rear wing to still have enough downforce in those corners whilst cutting the drag in a straight line. Fine-tune each part to unlock your machine's potential. So that could be the actual setup, you know, tuning the angle of the wing, tuning the suspension and how everything goes. Or, like I said, that could mean fine-tuning the development. Like, we're going to make a specific front wing for this circuit. We're going to make a special low downforce wing for all the circuits we think we need them for. You know, we're going to, you know, develop extra, you know, different suspension or whatever like that. Or, you know, side pods arrangement. I don't know. Just different things that you can actually tweak every single race. That is really, really cool to hear. You know, it seems like there's a lot of different avenues. It won't just be a case of, oh, we're just trying to make the fastest car ever on the stats and see them go up to 100. It's going to be a case of actually track to track, really thinking about what we're doing, like they are in real life, of course. So far, guys, that is all the info that we can get from the socials and extra info they've given after that initial teaser. So if you have found it informative and you really liked, you know, this kind of hearing this info, and it was useful to you guys, then be sure to hit that like button and let me know, do you like this kind of video, this kind of really nerdy, in-depth kind of look at all the little nitty-grits, trying to read into it a little bit? If you do, let me know in the comments below, and I'll continue to do it as the letters come out. Maybe like I've done today, A to C, we do it every 3 letters they give us, and any new kind of little Instagram card info bits they give us, that could be the vibe, because I do want to make sure that I'm giving as much coverage to this game as I can on this channel, because I am, you know, so committed to playing this game a lot this year, making plenty of videos, and I want you guys, you know, if you don't have them on Twitter and Instagram, you guys might want to know this info, so let me know if that's useful and you've enjoyed this video for that reason. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for more F1 Manager 2022 news, gameplay, whatever, trailers, as when it comes out. I will be there as fast as I can on it, guys, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.